We only collect money, we don't pay. You're in the wrong place.
Mouth covered.
Everybody, and welcome to the November 7th, 2022 Lexington Rotary meeting. We're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Vice President.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wonders of America by past President Ron Olson.
Dan Olson. My country is of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride, from every mountain side, let freedom ring.
Invocation by past President Dominic.
I lived this because I was just told I was doing this about 15 seconds.
Amen.
Amen. So anyway, welcome all and thanks for the food that we've had and for the camaraderie that we have, and also for everyone that survived COVID and everything else. It's all behind us. God bless us and welcome. Thank you.
Happy to do the secretary today. Nice to see so many people here today. We have at least 12 Rotarians of our Lexington Club. We have 4 distinguished Rotarians visiting us today, and we have 6 guests as well. In terms of the introductions, let's start here at the front. Vice President Junior, I need to introduce the guest at your table, please.
Yes, it's my pleasure to introduce President Veronica's guest, Debbie Avery.
Okay, Debbie. And let's see, Dominic, past President Dominic, you might follow.
Hi, no problem. I'm happy to introduce Gabrielle Adair. Hopefully you will be a Rotarian. We'll just kind of over everything we do as Rotarians, so welcome.
Welcome.
And then moving to the back corner, we're delighted to have 4 members of the Interact Club with us today. The Interact Club was very helpful in our veteran breakfast. Michelle will say more about that. This time I'd like to ask each of you to, one at a time, get up and introduce yourselves.
I'll go first. My name is Elsa. I'm the president of the Interact Club. I'm a senior in environmental science and methodology. And is there anything else I should say?
That's perfect.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'll go next. I'm Andy. I'm a sophomore in digital visual communications, and I'm the vice president of our club. Nice to meet you.
Welcome.
Hello, I am Mila. I'm the secretary of the club, and I'm a sophomore in biotechnology.
Welcome.
Hi, I'm Rose. I'm a sophomore in biotechnology. I'm just a member of the club.
Welcome. So happy to have you. And past President, please, would you introduce your table?
It'd be my honor to introduce past president of the Concord Rotary Club, Sharon Spalding, who is she's always here with us quite a bit, and also just informed that today is her anniversary of her 21st year of being Rotarian.
Past President Murray, you have some heavy lifting to do. You have 3 guests.
know these people, so I want to have my badge on. I broke that down momentarily. We have the pleasure of having Mr. Governor Alexander Falk, who you will all meet later on, going to address us. And we have Assistant Governor Lloyd Becker. Lloyd, welcome. And we have me, past president, Terry Curran, with us today. Thank you.
Welcome. So that concludes Secretary's report, 22 people in attendance, and that'll pass back to you.
And I think now it's a good moment for us Rotarians to rise and sing the welcome song for our guests. And it is going to be led by Vice President John Olson. Dan Olson, I'm going to
One more time, it's gonna cost you $5.
All right, Dawn.
I think that.
Your name is Monica?
Very good.
I apologize.
All right, let's try to keep this in the proper key. We
Welcome you to Lexington to meet with us today. Our door is always open to our friends in Rotary. We're glad to have you with us, and we hope you'll come again to Rotary Lexington. We all say welcome visiting Rotarians. Welcome all you non-Rotarians. Welcome to our club in Lexington. We hope you'll come again.
So, for the students of Minuteman, if you can come up.
Well, for our first announcement, I just wanted to say we had an excellent veterans breakfast last Saturday, and we had so much Rotary participation, and in conjunction with the town celebration committees, it was just a great day, and I just want to thank everybody for coming. And we had these great kids from Minuteman come and help us. Elsa, Rose, Andy, and Mila. Thank you so much. We're going to present this plaque to you. And in your name, we're going to donate enough funds to vaccinate 40 kids from polio. Okay, and we look forward to working with you guys in the future. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Okay.
Very photogenic, ladies.
All right, now it's time for fines and happy dollars. Everybody ready to celebrate? Oh,
Yeah, we're all done today.
John and Michelle.
It's so easy. I'd like to donate $20 happy dollars for a great veterans breakfast. We had a great time. The Interact group was extremely helpful. You don't know. Some years we've had it where we don't know how we're going to get the food out. You guys were so helpful in that, and we appreciate you being available for us to help us out. And Megan did a super job organizing everything, so we had a great day. We had about 225, 230 veterans. Yeah.
Past President Michelle.
I'm going to donate money for the Veterans Breakfast as well. It went very well. And I'm also going to donate money in hopes that we have 15 cash raffle tickets that somebody's going to volunteer to help me get rid of the last 15 tickets. And yes, and I will talk about it again.
Veronica, for $20 happy dollars, my second son will be getting married this coming weekend. I hope so.
Past President Murray.
President Veronica, our son and father-in-law are moving up here, so we're very pleased about that in Florida. And today we told us each other. Wow, so that was.
Past President Lee.
President Veronica,
Yes.
I'll pay a fine because my picture appeared in past President Jim Shaw's newspaper, his last paragraph, his last cycle.
Did the police fly?
No. He doesn't have one.
I'm gonna donate 10 happy dollars, 5 for the fact that my daughter's not calling, so God bless me. And eating everything. And the other 5 in the name of Alan, because he's so supportive of our new initiative to go cashless. Via Zelle. So thanks, Alan.
And District Governor Alexander?
I have a happy dollar because I spent this entire past weekend driving around for all the Rotary events. And I drove from Marblehead to Minuteman to Hartford, Connecticut, to Lexington, and back to Marblehead. And only paid $10.63 to charge my Tesla. Paid with the gas.
I have 10 happy dollars for the great breakfast that we did on Saturday and we did it driving in the current century.
As President Dominic?
And I am also giving 10 happy dollars for the veterans breakfast that we did last Saturday. Pretty small.
That's $7.50.
Let's cover the check.
Okay. I don't have any money, but everybody got one of those.
Okay.
Now for
This
that
is
is for okay, so we did.
I
So,
Not yet.
how can I erase this? Can we rewind? All right, so Thanksgiving, the Thanksgiving meeting that is scheduled for November 21st. We're going to have that in conjunction with the Concord Rotary Club. And past President Cleve is going to give us an update on the speakers.
President Veronica. We have 8 public safety officials who will be attending, police chiefs from both towns along with their senior command staff, and also the fire chief from Lexington and the fire chief from Concord. Also, just spoke with Past President Murray regarding our speaker. He wants to jump in, but Steve Cooper is going to be is confirmed to be our speaker. Steve Cooper from Channel 7 News.
Thank you. So for the Thanksgiving meeting, it's usually Lori that will give an update. She's not here. I can say that we will be buying the turkey dinners, and the Lexington Youth Commission will be distributing those to the residents. As of the Sanford Senior Secretary,
Inopportune time to pull my mouth.
Those payback.
That's payback, yeah, okay. It's all fair, it's all good. So I checked with the town today, we have 27 people who signed up for delivering ice, for receiving ice buckets. Of course, this kind of weather is not helping with the sign up. Typically, we get a lot more near the deadline when it gets colder. Typically, we have close to 50 people wanting to see ice melt. So we're going to continue getting names until November 30th. And then on December 1st, I'll put together the sign-up list, the distribution list for everybody. And then on Friday, the 2nd, to Sunday, the 3rd of December, we're distributing the bucket size. That's it.
and for our holiday meeting, that will take place on December 19th, right here at the School. And Past President Michelle, if you want to give us an update on the tickets.
So, well, first of all, it's November 18th at 6:30 at the Lexington Golf Club is where we're holding it. Why are you looking at me like that?
Oh,
So that's what it will be. There's 15 tickets left that we really need help trying to get rid of. It seems like every year it's becoming more challenging to get rid of the 300 tickets. So I know we love giving the scholarships, but Going forward, we may need to do less money for the scholarships and sell less tickets, because with the 300, it seems like it's a lot to try to get rid of them. And again, I pay the bills because they were in my hands. So I need to see if anybody could, last minute can sell something before the 18th of the month. But other than that, the rest of them have to all been sold. So we're down to 15 out of 300, so it's not bad. The other thing we could think of is something else that might be easier to try to raise more money and do another event and do some cash raffle with just less tickets. So if anybody has any ideas that they want to talk about, that would be good. Thank you.
Okay, so somebody would like to introduce the governor. We're done with the normal, the cash raffle, not the regular raffle, okay. All right, so what?
Blue ticket. Get ready. Last four numbers. 858.
All right, Dan.
If you win, you get to come up and take a prize.
Right here, all of this up here.
I have the bell.
No,
No.
not the plan.
Any of these guys are prizes.
Not in there.
By the prizes are donated by Lexington Rotary, by Eagle Bank, by Enterprise Bank. 869. Yes. I really want Thank you.
It's a private.
Next ticket. 839.
I know, right?
Next ticket. Got any prizes left? 865.
Oh, no, I haven't. No, it's okay.
Oh, it was the president of the Interact Club?
Oh, sure.
Kids love swag, right?
This is a modern calendar,
A desk calendar.
Last ticket, 837.
President Murray, do you want to introduce our speaker?
Thank you.
Before I introduce the speaker, I just want to introduce the upcoming program. We always spoke about, it's Dominic, so our next speaker is you all know. Steve Gordon's on WNAC TV, part-time co-anchor and reporter. And then on the 5th of December, can everybody hear me? Oh, I'll go again. On the 5th of December, we're going to have State Representative Michelle Chicolo address us on current things going on in the State House and how we are doing locally as our representative. When we plan the program, we get it onto the website. Dan's taught me how to do that. I thank him. But the thing is that look on it because you're going to find some pretty interesting things besides the speakers, all about Rotary, things that you don't even think about. And because I've been looking at it because I work with it right now as putting the program together. But I noticed that from speaking with several people that they don't know too much about the speakers, they're not looking into it. Some of our speakers, including District Governor Alex, have the most interesting biographies, backgrounds, and things to offer. And you should really take upon it to look upon it yourself, because it's going to give you that much more appreciation of the speaker. Alex, not to say that people don't read, but this is human nature. Everybody is busy, so I'm just trying to remind everyone before I introduce Alex, which I will now do. Thank you, Veronica.
Thank you.
I'm just going to have this up here if I need. This is my cheat sheet. So, Alex Falk is our district governor, and Alex has given me permission to call him Alex, so we can all call him Alex. Does anybody call you anything short of that, like Al? Or?
They do only once.
How did they recover after they got
They don't. Tough to say.
Anyhow, it's a pleasure to have you here, Alex. Alex first joined Rotary in 2009, and he immediately headed up the Youth Exchange program. He revived it in Marblehead. That's the club that is at the Rotary Club of Marblehead. And then, not too many years later, 2018 through 2019, Alex became the president of the Rotary Club of Marblehead. He's been very, very active in Rotary with things that are too numerous to read out at this meeting, as I want to make the introduction. But I really wish you would read it, because it's just fascinating how this one man has been involved with so many things in Rotary and has succeeded in being a leader. The other thing is that Alex is a Paul Harris Fellow, and he has gone way, way up to become a member of the trustee circle, so congratulations on that. That's amazing. Not many people get there. He lives in Marblehead with his wife, 2 children. Alex formed the company Altova. Before I get into that, I just want to say that Alex was born in Vienna, not Virginia, Vienna, Europe, Vienna, Austria, in 1967. And he founded the company Altova in 1992 in Vienna, and it is a software company. And he relocated the company business to the United States, but they still maintain offices and a workforce in Vienna as well as the United States. Employ about 100 people. And the company has 5.5 million users. And 90% of the Fortune 500 companies use the software that Alex's company provides.
Mari, you're not going to name them all, are you?
You want me to?
No.
So that's it. And he's a diplomate of engineering. He has a diplomate of engineering degree from the Johannes Kepler, University. And he's going to tell you why it's famous, because it has really donated something big to the world. We'll tell you all about it. But the diplomate that he has is comparable in the United States to a Master of Science. So we have a very accomplished district governor. We're very happy to have you. And if you would just now like to come in and say hello to everybody.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for that kind introduction. Let me put my here. Yes, there we go. So briefly about my college in Austria, the Johannes Kepler University. After Johannes Kepler, who is most famous for discovering the equations that describe planetary motion. So if you're into physics, if you're into astronomy, you probably have heard of Johannes Kepler. Otherwise, you probably haven't. But what I'm really here to talk to you about today is our annual theme, Imagine Rotary. I have a message from Jennifer Jones, our RI president, about 4 presidential initiatives that she wants districts and clubs to focus on this year. Then I want to take it a little personal and tell you what Imagine Rotary means to me. Sneak preview, it's thinking outside the box, trying out new things in Rotary that you may not have done before. Then we're going to talk about some Rotary youth programs, like Interact. Thank you for being here today, that's awesome. And some new pollinate initiatives that we're doing in our district this year. And I'll end with a quick preview of some upcoming district calendar events, and then hopefully we'll have some time for questions. And I've been told I need to restrict myself to 2 hours in my presentation. So if you're lucky, you're out by 3 months. About 20-25 minutes. I promise, I won't go with that. So let's start with the logo. If you look at the screen, you will see the rotary wheel in the center, surrounded by our 7 areas of focus. And that turns into our Imagine Rotary logo, into that circle with the dots around it. And that circle, the dots around it, represents, on one hand, the globe and Rotarians around the globe coming together, all of our 1.4 million members. On the other hand, it also represents a Rotary Club meeting. That only works, of course, if you're sitting around round tables, in this case, in this cafeteria. It won't work, but it's 7 Rotarians sitting around a table at dinner or lunch is also what it represents. And last but not least, Jennifer likes to call it a guiding star that shines brightly on the future of Rotary, and that sort of is our pathway into the future. There we go. Where's that coming from? There you go. Is that worthy of fine? I don't know.
Oh, yes, automatic.
Exactly. So, back to the logo. There's also this green line underneath the circle that can only be understood if you know that the logo was designed by an artist, an Aboriginal artist from Australia, who also designed the logo for the Melbourne Rotary International Convention, which is what's going to happen in May next year. And it represents a digging stick. A digging stick is a tool used by the native population of Australia to dig holes in the ground in their yards for planting seeds, for tilling their fields, for doing any sort of yard work. It's not quite like a didgeridoo, because the didgeridoo is taller and hollow and you can make funny sounds with it. But it looks somewhat like the smaller cousin of the didgeridoo. The reason it's in our logo is because it represents us as Rotarians, as people of action. And it's there to remind us that we are most likely, amongst other people, to get our hands dirty and do real projects in the world. And actually dig wells in Africa. Or build community gardens in our communities here, help the food factors. So we're not afraid to get our hands dirty. So when you see the logo, you see the green line, think of the digging stick and us as people of action. So Jennifer Jones, of course, is the first female Rotary International president. And it's very nice to know that she won't be the last one, because a few weeks ago, the nominating committee selected Stephanie Urchik from Pennsylvania to be RI president 2 years from now. Between Jennifer and Stephanie, we will have Gordon McInally from Scotland as our RI president for next year. And so with both Stephanie and Jennifer, we have fortunately shattered that glass ceiling forever. And this time it did not take a Supreme Court decision for us to get to that point. So progress. Jennifer wants us to look at 4 different areas as her presidential initiatives. Diversity, equity, and inclusion, imagine the welcoming club experience, empowering girls, and imagine impact, having a better reach for Rotary through more elaborate social media and public leadership campaigns. There are 4 quick slides on these topics for you. On the diversity, equity, inclusion side, has your club already done the DI certification? You have. Very good. So I don't need to go into too much detail here. Just keep in mind that DI is not sort of a once and done accomplishment, but rather an ongoing effort to make sure the club is diverse, equitable, and inclusive to all. And that you can also use this as a recruiting tool by raising awareness of DI in your community, so that people know that they're welcomed to your club whenever they come to a meeting. Which ties exactly into the second topic that Jennifer wants us to look into, which is creating a more welcoming club experience. And what she wants us to do is really focus on engagement and belonging, potentially doing a survey among your members to find out what brings them to Rotary, what makes them excited, what's their passion, and then also take that into account when you maybe reconsider the time of day that you meet. Is it family friendly? Is it feasible for those who are working? Can you make it more affordable to be a member by introducing different membership fee structures, for example? And then use your platform, your website, and social media to affirm your club's commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. The next initiative is the Empowering Girls initiative. Our president, Sheikha Mehta, last year's Rotary president, started this initiative because when it comes to India, and in India, obviously, we have a huge disparity in opportunities between girls and boys, between men and women, that exist in their society and their culture. And so for him, it was an absolutely important topic to raise and bring to the forefront of Rotarians' minds around the world. And Jennifer wants to continue that. In our own communities, what you could do is you could find an organization to partner with that is focused on STEM education of girls, on financial literacy for girls. There are various groups here in the Boston area that focus on these areas, and maybe plan a day of service together with that group or incorporate some kind of fundraising activity with them. And of course, this is also something that the Interact Club can work on. The last slide on Jennifer's initiatives is about expanding Rotary's reach. Jennifer currently is on an Imagine Impact media tour around the world, highlighting 8 large-scale Rotary projects to show the world what Rotarians really can do and to raise the awareness of Rotary overall. And it's focused on the 7 areas of focus, so 1 project from each of the 7 areas of focus, plus polio, of course, is our 8th project that we've been doing for many years now. In terms of public media, in our own district, we have a wonderful public image and technology committee that's ready and able to help you for your website needs, your social media needs, for any PR help you need. So if you need any help in those areas, contact them. Andy Maddox is the current chair of the public image committee. And you will find links in all my slides here. You can either write them down or you can simply wait for the email that I'm going to send later today to President Veronica that has all the information from the slides, all the different projects, and you can then share it with the rest of the project. So, let's take it personal. What does Imagine Rotary mean for me? It's thinking outside the box, trying out new things in Rotary that you may have not heard about yet, that you may have not encountered yet, and that will broaden your understanding and your appreciation for Rotary beyond just your local club to a district and the global level. And on the next couple of slides, I have some things that have really, that I found over the last years that have excited me, that I'm very passionate about. And maybe you'll find something in those slides too that is a new idea for you, that's something you might want to try. So, we'll start with the fun part. You go to the Rotary website, rotary.org, and then look at the fellowship section. You will find a list of about 150 different potential hobbies that Rotarians around the world have. And when I say hobbies, I mean things like scuba diving, stamp collecting, chess playing, flying, motorcycling. I mean, the list is really endless. It also includes, and for the Interact students, please don't listen to that part, includes beer drinking and whiskey drinking and wine drinking Rotarians. And what these fellowships are is basically groups of like-minded people that come together globally around a shared hobby. For example, the skiing Rotarians meet once a year for a week, either in Utah or Colorado, for a joint ski trip. And the scuba diving Rotarians meet on some island somewhere and jump into the water. Yeah, I'm a skier, I'm not a scuba diver, that's why I'm more excited about skiing Rotarians.
You should tell all of us jump in the water.
Absolutely. So, on the Wine Appreciation Fellowship side, real quick, in our own district during the pandemic, we created a chapter of that Wine Appreciation Fellowship called the Corks and Caps. And during the pandemic, we met on a monthly basis, the last Sunday of the month at 5 p.m. Now it's on a more quarterly basis. And we just got together, we picked a bottle of white and a bottle of red. No need to finish both, although that has happened. And we talked about wine and food pairings and different vintages and vineyards and varietals. And it's a very educational experience and also fun and fellowship with Rotarians. So, not trying to get you all to join the wine fellowship, but check out all of the fellowships and pick one that is a shared hobby that you already enjoy, and you can enjoy it more if you do it with fellow Rotarians. Now, on a more serious note, Rotarians are really excited about tackling the big problems in our world. And that's where Rotary action groups come into play. This is where Rotarians come together and focus on areas that really need our attention. For example, there's a Rotary action group against slavery and human trafficking. There is a Rotary Action Group for Addiction Prevention, a Rotary Action Group for Water, Sanitation, and Hygiene, the WASH Rotary Action Group. And the SRAG Action Group stands for Environment and Sustainability. So these Rotary Action Groups are Rotarians that come together to not only discuss these topics, but then to pool their expertise and help clubs and districts implement projects in these areas. So for example, if you want to do a well that you drill in Colombia, you can contact the WASH, the Water and Sanitation Hygiene Rotary Action Group, to review your global grant and give you input on best practices, on feedback, on how to rewrite portion of the grant, or how to restructure maybe a micropayment system to then have the indigenous population there pay for the usage of the well over time to fund the future maintenance of the well, and similar things. So again, I invite you to go to the Rotary website and check out these Rotary Action Groups, and if there's an area that you are particularly passionate about, think about joining that action group. And in the initial phase, you'll probably absorb a lot of information, and then you can also more actively participate over time. Next up, we have Rotary Inter-Country Committees. This is when Rotarians from 2 or 3 countries come together to see if they can develop a path to foster goodwill between those nations, in particular to increase the fellowship and intercultural understanding between these countries, and to foster stronger ties between the members and clubs in those countries. So there's an inter-country committee, for example, between the Netherlands and Germany, and there's one between Austria and Uganda. And in our home district, about 2.5 years ago, we were founding members of a new inter-country committee for Austria, Germany, and the United States. So it's a trilateral committee. And we have had very great discussions since then. Past District Governor Joan Arsenault was one of the founding signers of those documents at the RI convention in Hamburg a few years ago. And one of the most recent meetings we had was a presentation where we had Rotaract students. That's basically Rotary for college students. Where we had Rotaract students from a college in the United States and one in Hamburg, Germany, talk about how Rotaract is slightly different between the 2 countries. It has a slightly different focus in terms of service versus educational aspects of it. And it was really fascinating to hear the Rotaracts from the 2 countries talk about this, the similarities and the differences. If you are particularly passionate about one country, because maybe your grandparents or parents came from there, look up the inter-country committee list on the Rotary website and see if you want to join one. Now we go back to the fun part. If you're on social media, I invite you to connect with 3 particular Rotarians around the world that I'm going to recommend to you, but you can of course connect with many, many more. We've got 1.4 million Rotarians in the world. So feel free to connect with anybody out there you like. But these 3 have influenced me, is what I should say. In the bottom left corner is Evan Burrell from Australia. By day, he is a bus driver in the local transit system north of Sydney. And by nighttime, he rips open his shirt and becomes Rotary Public Image Superman. And he's been really great about helping clubs and districts learn more about their social media presence and their public image campaigns, and how to keep your public image and your social media presence fun and engaging, rather than the good old photos of passing a very large oversized check between 2 people that look like they don't want to be there. So, big focus area of his is making it fun, creating photos that really engage people and show them that Rotary as an organization, while we do fabulous and important things around the world, is also a fun group of people to belong to. And he's also going to be our district conference keynote speaker on April 22nd. So I invite you to put that on your calendar. April 22nd is going to be our district conference, and we'll bring Evan Burrell over from Australia in person. Next person I want to introduce you to is in the top left corner. My friend Ron Mabry, past district governor Ron Mabry from the beautiful state of Hawaii. And in every photo you see of him on social media, he has these funky I Love Rotary sunglasses on his face. There's even, by the way, a photo of Paul Harris with these sunglasses. Well, technically it's a statue of Paul Harris with the sunglasses. But what Ron has challenged Rotarians around the globe to do is quite simply to send him evidence of a $100 donation to the Rotary Foundation, and then it will mail you the sunglasses. You take a selfie, and then you mail them back to him. And I was able to convince him that I can keep those because I made a $1,000 donation to the Rotary Foundation. So these are by far the most expensive cheap plastic sunglasses I've ever acquired. But the reason I bring them to all my TG visits is I'm going to extend the offer to all of you. If you want a selfie with these sunglasses today, all you have to do is promise me that you will donate $100 to the Rotary Foundation. Third Rotarian I want to introduce you to is Gwen Jones from Seattle. She is a podcast person, and her podcast is called I Am a Rotarian. And she interviews Rotarians from around the world, including all the RI senior leaders and presidents and trustees and directors. And typically her episodes are 40-45 minutes, and it's all about the background of what's the history of these people, why did they become a Rotarian, what are their passions, why do they step up in Rotary, why do they become involved. It's really great to hear, so if you are driving long distances and your audiobook ends, go on your favorite podcasting app, Spotify, iTunes, whatever, and look up I Am a Rotarian and subscribe to their podcast. It's really fun to listen to and learn more about these people. Who said shh? Oh, the outside, yeah. Okay, so next up, I brought something that I want you to pass around. I'm going to start on the presidential table and then please pass it along to all the other tables. What this is something that I'm super excited about. I learned about this was from Jennifer Jones in January, February this year. And it's called a tutu desk. And what it is a plastic desk that you can put on your lap when you go to school. It's named after the late Archbishop Desmond Tutu. And it is quite simply designed to solve one particular problem. That problem is that we have about 95 million children in South Africa, or Sub-Saharan Africa to be more precise, that when they go to school, they don't have a desk in their classroom. Can you imagine going to school and not having a desk? It's pretty tough, isn't it? Right? And so it has a measurable negative impact on the development of these kids, on their literacy development and their academic performance. And $20, which is what one of these tutu desks costs, about $10 production and $10 to distribute to the right people, can solve that problem. So when 3 Rotary districts in South Africa got together recently, they decided we want to make a dent in that problem, right? 95 million kids need these desks. We're going to commit 20 million tutu desks to be funded by Rotarians around the world. And obviously these 3 districts in South Africa can't do it by themselves. Their commitment is to have 20 million tutu desks funded and distributed by 2025, and they're asking Rotary clubs and Rotarians around the world to help participate in this fundraising effort. Because it's not easy to send money from here to South Africa because of wire transfer fees, bank fees, and currency exchange fees. The Rotary Club number 2 in San Francisco has volunteered to act as an aggregator and collect all these funds from Rotarians and clubs in the United States and then send them over to South Africa in a larger transfer, which reduces the fees substantially. So if you're interested in participating in this campaign, again, I'm going to send you a detailed email with all the information how you can do that after the meeting today. And I invite you to also get the Internet Club involved, right? If you compare the cost of a venti frappuccino latte pumpkin spice something with having a desk to write on, right? I think you can forego 1 or 2 Starbucks drinks and sponsor 2 desks. So it makes a real tangible impact in the lives of those kids. So I ask you to consider this as a possible project to participate in. Obviously education is super important, but what is also super important is clean water We currently have 2 global grants in the draft stages in our district that I want to tell you about. One is done by the Chelsea Rotary Club, and they're working on a global grant to build wells in the northernmost peninsula of Colombia. When you hear Colombia, you think rainforest, right? But the northernmost peninsula is an arid desert environment, and the indigenous people there have a complete lack of access to clean water. And so Juan Gallego from the Chelsea Club is pioneering that global grant, and he wants them to drill some wells in Colombia. And the second one is from my own Marblehead Rotary Club. We are planning to do 20 wells in Burkina Faso, which is one of the poorest countries in the world. And we're working together with the Crystal Club in Ouagadougou in Burkina Faso on that global grant. Again, more information coming in my email. Now, before I dive into the youth programs, I want to tell you a little funny story on how I became a Rotarian. When I was 15, 16 maybe, going to high school in Linz, Austria, I had a friend, and he would every single school year, he would bring a new kid to school from some country around the world. And I asked him, what's that all about? And he told me that it's because his dad is a Rotarian, and they participate in Rotary Youth Exchange, which is a program that gives high school students the opportunity to go abroad for an entire school year. And I thought that was the coolest thing ever. Didn't work out for me for various reasons. But I just found it fascinating that there's a group of people called Rotarians that would give high school kids such an amazing opportunity. And so back then I decided when I grow up, I want to be a Rotarian. So fast forward 1992, after college, when I started my own software company in Vienna, I figured I'm now a business owner, I qualify to become a Rotarian. So I looked at Rotary in Vienna, and there's 8 Rotary clubs. I picked the one closest to my office, walked to one of their dinner meetings and said, here I am. And that didn't go so well. So they explained to me that you have to be invited by a current Rotarian to come to a Rotary club meeting. You can't just show up and walk in. And so I waited to be invited for several years, and then I left Austria and came to the United States in 2001 without ever being invited. So I arrived here, settled in Marblehead in 2001 and figured I'm going to try again. I looked up Rotary in Marblehead and found 2 clubs, one meeting at 7:30 in the morning, not my thing, too early, and the other one meeting at noontime, which is a smart thing to do, right? And I went to the Boston Yacht Club at noon on a Thursday and said, here I am. And they were much nicer about showing me the door. So the message was the same. You have to be invited by a current Rotarian. You can't just walk in. And so it took a couple of years until about 05, 06. A friend of mine said, do you want to come to this business networking group with me? It's all the important people in town. It's the selectmen, the fire chief, the police chief, all the bankers, the real estate agents, the lawyers, the doctors. And I said, no thanks. Because I sell software worldwide to the Fortune 500. I have not a single customer in Marblehead. And so I figured I don't need business networking. We failed to mention it was Rotary. So it took 2 more years until another friend finally said, do you want to come to Rotary lunch with me? And that's how I became Rotarian. Once I was president of my club, we added a join button on our website. We have a join button on the district website. Rotary International by now has a join button on the RI website. So I invite you to also put a join button on your website. You don't have to take everybody who shows up, but give them a chance to tell you why they would like to join Rotary. So, excuse me 1 second. Back to Youth Exchange. I already told you what the long-term program is about. As part of my story, the short-term program is basically when Rotary plays the role of Gente and the fiddle on the roof. So we're basically matchmaker between 2 families, one our country, one another country, and we bring them together so that they can have their kids trade places for 4 to 5 weeks in the summer. So it's much easier to administer and still gives the students a wonderful opportunity to go abroad and experience cultural differences and learn a foreign language during that time period. We have about 6 clubs in our district participating in the program, so if you're interested, again, contact information is going to be in the email. Bob Ford is our current district youth exchange chair, and he can come to your club and give you a presentation and tell you more about the program. Next up, I want to talk about Interact, and I'm so happy that you're here. I don't know if you guys participated in the microfinance program already. Have you done Kiva microloans yet in the Interact Club? Okay, so pay attention to this because this is awesome. We started this last year. District Governor Terry Curran suggested it after she listened to a webinar that I gave on microfinance in general and said, why don't we do this for the Interact Clubs? And so what we've done last year is $500 grants per Interact Club to allow Interact students to give microloans to people around the world who need the money for their projects. So a little bit of background about what is microfinance. It's loans that are given outside the traditional banking system. The beneficiaries are from low income groups. The loans are often offered without any kind of collateral, and they are generally taken for income generation purposes. One more, awesome. And these microloans, when we talk about income generation purposes, how can you envision that? Think of somebody buying a chicken so that they can sell the eggs, or buying a goat so that they can sell the milk and cheese, or buying a sewing machine so that they can then produce garments that they sell. And what we found is a partner company called Kiva that's doing a microloan brokering platform worldwide. And the cool thing about Kiva is that it's an app on your phone. So you can select potential borrowers during an Interact Club meeting on your phone, and then decide who do you want to fund. And you can select them based on gender, on geography, on how much money they need, on what sector of the industry they're in. Is it agriculture? Is it crafts? Is it garments? Is it education? And it's really awesome because you get updates from these borrowers as they repay the loan over time. So when you fund a group that wants to buy a goat, you might find a photo several weeks later of the actual goat that they bought. And similar things happen, of course, for other kinds of loans. The nice thing is with Kiva that we as a club and as a district can pre-fund that account. So when the students discuss their microloans, they already have the $500 inside the Kiva platform account, and can then give $25 to this loan, $25 to that, $25 to that. And borrowers around the world submit their loans through local field partners to a platform like Kiva, and then lenders around the world can come together to fund these loans. It's really awesome. We've had super nice success in other Interact clubs already. And so if you're interested, I can give you a business card afterwards to send you some videos of what the Stoneham Interact Club or the Marblehead Interact Club have done, and then you can show it in your group and discuss it. And if you're interested, get back to me and we'll get you the $500 to start with it. But the cool thing that you will learn through that process is more details about how do loans work, how does banking work, what's a delinquency rate, a default rate, which will in turn prepare you better in terms of financial literacy for when you apply for a loan for a college education or a car whatnot in the future. In general, it also teaches you the true value of money in other parts of the world. Again, compare the Starbucks venti latte pumpkin spice versus the cost of a goat. And what does that tell you about how lucky we are to live where we are right now? It teaches you about empathy for people in different socioeconomic situations in different countries, and about how these microloans can really truly empower people to lift themselves out of poverty. Because it's not a handout. They have to pay it back. And they have to work hard with whatever product they acquire, be it the sewing machine or the goat. So I think it's a fascinating program, and I'm super passionate about it. I could talk hours just about this one thing. But instead I'm going to move on and tell you about our pollinator initiatives. So when we say pollinator, what do we mean? It's small insects and maybe even small birds like hummingbirds that travel from plant to aid the plants in their reproductive cycle. So think about bees, butterflies, bumblebees, some kinds of wasps even. And the problem that we're facing is over the last 50 years, we've already lost 45% of all pollinators. That's a very abstract number to think about, so I want to give you a visual. Think about 15, 20 years ago, when you drove on the highway in the summer, how many bugs did you have to scrape off the windshield at the gas station compared to now? That gives you a visual of the overall loss in insect population that we've experienced, and the pollinator loss is just directly proportional to that. And it's a problem because these pollinators are responsible for the reproductive success of 85% of the world's plants, including all of our food crops. So if we lose the rest of the pollinators, we're truly and seriously in a bad place. There's probably going to be some genius in Silicon Valley who's going to invent a little microdrone that can then flip from flower to flower. But let's not go down that route. Let's save the pollinators that we have, because they're way more nice and efficient. And so in our district, we've signed a pollinator pledge. District Governor Terry Kern and I were so fortunate to do that at the end of her year, in June, together with the Essex National Heritage Area, which has land all over the North Shore and is part of the National Park Service. And we are also fortunate that we now have a new environmental committee in our district. Chair is District Governor Terry Kern, immediate past District Governor Terry Kern. And the environmental committee has already put together a beautiful template for a district managed grant to do a pollinator guide. Now, district managed grant deadline was October 31st, so at the moment they're closed, but we may potentially reopen them after we've reviewed all the grant applications for a second round. And if that happens, we'll let you know, and then you can apply for pollinator guide. We're also planning to do something called No Mow May. It's going to be basically lawn signs that you can put into your lawn, and then commit to not mow your lawn during the entire month of May. The purpose of the lawn sign is twofold. Number one, so that your neighbor doesn't get mad at you. And number two, it has a Rotary logo on it and the Rotary Club name, so it's also great for publicity. And the idea behind No Mow May is quite simple. If you don't mow your lawn during the month of May, you have all these dandelions and wildflowers and whatnot coming through. And those are great, great starters for the bees and for other pollinators to have an initial boost to the start of their season. It helps beehives tremendously to do that. And that's the pollinator initiatives. Next up, our district calendar. This week, in just a few days on Thursday, we have our Robert Seawood Memorial Hero Celebration at the Danvers Port, of course named after our friend and late past District Governor Bob Wood, who passed away June 30 of 2019. 20. The last day of his year as District Governor. And it's going to be wonderful. We have 26 community heroes that we're going to celebrate that evening. I hope that many of you will be there and join us for that evening. We have a silent auction planned. We have some balloon raffles planned. It's going to be fantastic. And thank you. We have also recognition of the charter members of our Polio Plus Society. That's new in our district this year. Polio Plus Society is a commitment to give $100 annually to the Polio Plus Fund of the Rotary Foundation until we're done eradicating polio from this world. And the charter members will receive a little certificate and a pin at that event. So I hope to see many of you there. In January, we're going to have a media leadership meeting where we have hopefully all club presidents and presidents-elect there. In February, we're planning a World Peace and Understanding event. Not sure yet if it's going to be a dinner or Zoom. That depends largely on the COVID numbers over the winter. In March, we have Northeast Pets. At the Newton Marriott, there's training for incoming presidents and assistant governors. In April, we have the district conference, again April 22nd, where Evan Burrell from Australia will join us as a keynote speaker. In May, we have the 100th anniversary of 9 Rotary clubs in our district, and the RI convention in Melbourne. And then in June, we have our district installation, where I get to pass the digging stick on to our next district governor, Lori Karras. And with that, I thank you for your attention, and I'm here for questions. Yes.
Recently, they've discovered a minor outbreak of polio in the sewer systems in New York. Is there any update on any of that?
Yes. The current situation is that we have vaccine-derived poliovirus circulating in the sewer systems in London and New York, and even in some counties upstate New York. And what has happened is that, well, before I go into that, I need to first ask everybody if you know what the difference between vaccine-derived polio and the wild poliovirus is. Is everybody crystal clear on that? I only see very few nods and a couple of people shaking their heads, so I'll give you a very quick update. The wild poliovirus is what nature has produced. It's the poliovirus that has crippled children throughout all of humanity's history, and that's the thing we decided to eliminate and eradicate. When we as Rotarians started with the Philippines as the first country where we completely eradicated polio. You eradicate the wild poliovirus by giving children drops of what's called the oral polio vaccine, OPV. And OPV is an attenuated virus. So it's a virus that has been weakened by chemicals, but it's not dead. When you give those 2 drops, the body develops an immune reaction, creates antibodies against that oral polio vaccine attenuated virus, and then your body sheds that virus through the fecal route. The problem is that the virus can regain its strength in the sewage systems. And when it does that, and other people play in the sewer, which happens way more often than you would think around the world, unfortunately, it can infect people again. And when that happens, it's called the vaccine-derived poliovirus. So it's a poliovirus that has escaped through a sewage system, came initially from a vaccine, but has regained its strength and is now actually infecting people. How do we solve that part? Quite simply with better vaccines. There is the IPV, which is the intravenous polio vaccine, which is not an attenuated live virus, but it's a dead virus. And then the other option is the OPV2 or NOPV2, the novel oral polio vaccine 2, which is an attenuated virus, but it's genetically modified so it cannot regain its strength. And so in most Western countries, in Europe, in the United States, in Australia, what the kids get is the IPV, the injectable or the intravenous polio vaccine, which cannot get back into the wild. And so we normally don't have any any vaccine-derived poliovirus circulating in our waters here in the United States ever, or haven't had it for years. Poorer countries in the world still administer the OPV, the original oral polio vaccine, and so they still have vaccine-derived virus circulating in the wastewater in Africa and in India. And so when we have countries that are declared polio-free, that's free of the wild poliovirus. We still have the vaccine-derived virus in those countries, and we'll have it as long as we administer OPV. So we have to get these countries to switch to IPV or NOPV2, which will then eliminate the vaccine-derived poliovirus. What has happened in New York is that a person living in New York, in upstate New York, was not vaccinated against polio for religious reasons, and somehow came in contact with another person traveling back from either Africa or India, and that was a person that was vaccinated against polio, but carried the vaccine-derived virus with them, unbeknownst to them. And so that vaccine-derived virus got into that person who was not vaccinated in upstate New York, got infected, and that's how they got sick. And it seems to have happened more than once. That's how we now have vaccine-derived poliovirus circulating in the wastewater in New York City, and the same thing happened in London. But it's really important to differentiate between the wild poliovirus and the vaccine-derived one, and to know that the vaccine-derived one is bad, but we know exactly how to eliminate it. We need to just get these countries to switch to IPV or NOPV2. And to get the wild poliovirus eradicated, we're now facing 23 cases this year. They are just in Afghanistan and Pakistan, and they are in a small border region between those two places. It's literally mountain villages that we have to reach. And so when you talk to Michael McGovern, he will tell you that he's still hopeful that in the next year or two, we will have completely eliminated the wild polio virus. We're that close. And then the next step is to eliminate the vaccine-derived one. And we know exactly how to do that, so that's not that challenging. But we just need to finish the job. That's why we have a Polio Plus Society now in our district. So a little bit of a lengthy answer, but I think it's important to cover all the details. Yes?
Governor, are we having a polar plunge this year?
We are not having a polar plunge. What we instead are doing is something called End Polio 7930, which is an online campaign on the Race for Rotary platform. And we are asking every single club to come up with their own fun ideas of how to raise money for polio. We had a beautiful webinar about that topic on October 13th. The recording is available on the district website. Examples of what clubs are doing is there's a dunk tank that Arlington is doing. The Marblehead Harbor Club has invited our Marblehead Rotary Club to do a big toe dip. So that sounds much less painful than the Julia Phelps, for example, the Amesbury Rotary Club is riding her home trainer bike for I don't know how many thousand miles to raise money. So we invite you to come up with a fun idea that works for your club. I can recommend the olive dip in the martini glass as an option. Choices are all yours.
The Arlington Club next door